Hey, once again, welcome everybody. We are at 7:46, 7:47 p.m. We're going a little live early. I want to say welcome everybody to the Front Door Show, brought to you by Four Fantastic Events and DJ Prieto, and I'm DJ Prieto, and this is what we do every day. Technically 8 o'clock, but we go a little bit early. And then we have one of my real close friends, Victor Salazar.
Hey
So
everybody.
that Victor is what I do. So how you doing, man? I hope you're everybody's safe in your family and everything today.
Yes, sir. As
Crazy
safe
day
as
today.
safe as we can be. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yes, crazy day today. So one of the things I want to talk to before we say anything. I had a I and you've been watching my shows quite a bit from what you're telling me, and
Uh-huh.
I had a on the show last night, George Ortega. God,
hmm
I'm zoning out. You gotta
Too
understand.
many people, man. Too many people.
But George Ortega, um, I had him on last night, and something he said to me that was very how can I say refreshing and at the same time. He because I'm a DJ, but I'm also a promoter, and him being a promoter as well, he said something to me that resonated with me that kind of like stuck to me, especially what's going on today.
hmm
He says, as promoters, we're kind of special people. And what I mean by this is that because we don't have a 9 to 5 job, okay, we don't get a paycheck like everybody else does. We don't work, we live on the edge kind of every day
Yeah,
in
that's right.
that sense. We live on the edge every day. So we take risk and so forth in what we do. And we invest a lot of time, we invest a lot, and not to say that like people don't invest time, but we like to do in the event, we risk a lot of things. And one of the things he said that resonated with me, or should I say that we end up talking about, is that I honestly believe that in the sense of what we do, because not just that we're doing events, but almost we are providers of the music,
hmm
and music aspect of music events is almost a healing process for a lot of people in their lives.
That's right.
It almost, and I think if we look in the history of everything that's gone on, and we could talk about exactly what's going on right now outside the door, outside the window right now. Um, I honestly believe that live streaming and the DJs and this music is what this world needs right now. you
That's
know
right.
and I really believe that, and we also off camera we talked about what we talked about doing, that picnic thing that I was telling you about with the silent, the social distancing silent picnic. And he himself said, he goes, phenomenal dude, this is, he was in agreement with it. And I
hmm
think all of us as DJs, if there isn't a time for us to be who we are, especially when it comes to the anxiety, the fact that people are not working, the fact that, we're let's be honest with you, people are tensed up.
Yeah,
There's a frustration there, and they're reacting to this tension and frustration and everything else. And I think for us to play music, to be an event where there's music and stuff like that, I think that's a healing process for everybody. It makes us feel good. It releases the tension. Dancing releases tension, all of that stuff like that. And that kind of is the message I wanted to get out there. I don't. Your thoughts, maybe, Victor?
yeah,
Any
yeah.
any thoughts on that from you?
I agree 100%. Gosh, this is when I was going to Spanish Coalition with Carlos Feliciano, and we had to write this paper. And for some reason, I got inspired to talk about music and so on and so forth. And everything that you said is almost what I wrote verbatim about the power of music. Um, how certain songs would make you feel love, other songs would can get you aggressive, other songs can get you pumped up. I mean, I went on this whole tangent. And the professor was like, "Did you copy this?" I'm like, "No, this is what was in my heart." And but yeah, I mean, we DJs, I think either we take it for granted what we do. I've had people tell me things like, "Oh, you this night was X or whatever. It was phenomenal. I needed this," and I never stop to think about it like that. I just play music and I'm feeling good about it. People are dancing or just having a good time. But DJ out there, what makes a difference for sure. Any entertainer, bands, music, any music provider um, does something that will just help somebody out and in a way that you find out, especially if people don't tell you, but you are making a difference.
Right. And that's what, and then at the same time, but some posting of some DJs posting up something about in front of Guitar Center or in front of another store, like they're waiting. Oh yeah, like they're waiting for the store to get looted, and I got alerted by it, and I was like, oh wow, that's not even something to joke about,
Yeah,
So
I saw that. It's very disappointing, and it just shows what kind of people you're dealing with. And I'll be honest with you, there's a time to joke and not to joke, and that's just something that just puts them in a bad place in my eyes. And those are people that they're not in my, how do people say, I hate saying this, I'm actually going to say it, they're not in my circle. um that's just wrong.
No, but
you know
you know what? It's not just me, but I've seen the comments and stuff like that, and people were even saying it to them. You know what? You should delete this post and stuff. And finally,
Yeah.
he deleted the post, but I guess he got pressured, and and I even wrote something that I go, you're reaching a bigger community out here than you even realize and stuff like that.
Oh
And
yeah.
honestly, as DJs, we reach a huge community. And joking or not joking, it can be, I think we know that Julian Perez did something kind of in the similar. He said something that wasn't, and I'm not calling out Julian, but he said something that wasn't correct.
Yeah.
And trust me, and how got a la raza, got on it, it was huge and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
DJs also, believe it or not, I think for us DJs and promoters and stuff like that, we don't realize the reach we have, because we're in contact with so many people for a good way as well as a negative way if we do something wrong and stuff like that. So I like I said, and we all know that Julian said what he said, and then guess what? And he's come back and he's doing whatever he's doing and stuff like that, and everybody has their opinion about how he wants to do things and stuff like that. I'm not trying to get into that discussion there, but at the same time, he did piss off a lot of people, and this guy pissed off a lot of people, and that's the point I'm making. So,
Sure.
what I thought. So,
Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely. You don't know who's paying attention or who's watching. Like when I stream, I'll see like weeks later somebody might either be watching the replay or they were watching live, but they don't chat, so you don't know if they're on or not. And it's like, whoa, you actually took the time to listen to my goofy show or whatever. And but it just makes you think, man. You gotta clean and keep it cool when you're streaming.
Great. So let's talk about you, Victor. So I just wanted that to come out per se and stuff like that. And I think, like I said, music is the key. That's that's it.
Definitely. For sure.
That's it. So Victor, let's talk about you and how you started and where you come from and so forth. Let's give it your introduction, who you are, so forth. Let's hear it.
Oh boy, it's not gonna be a long story. So, anyways, everybody, Chicagoland mobile DJ. My interest in music started pretty much as far as I could remember anything. My family would always play music around the house. My uncles actually had a band, and from what I remember, or just based on what they used to call my one of my uncles, I think they were like a Doors tribute band. They used to call him Ruby Morrison, and so there's that. There's the band aspect, and then my aunt would play music on Sundays all the time. She liked the Platters and all those oldies,
The doo-wop type,
huskies
the
and
doo-wops.
yeah, exactly. So all that music kind of stuck with me, and this is like I learned more about speaking English through music than anything else, because I was born in Mexico, but I was raised
Okay.
here, and so when we came over here, this is gosh, early '80s, late '70s, early '80s. So at that time, a lot of the events had bands that were playing. So I would always gravitate to the biggest speaker I could find, watch the keyboard or the drummer doing their thing, and I would feel the music, and it was a great experience. Flash forward a few
But,
years.
but how old are you when this was happening? How old were you at the time when doing this?
Oh,
How old?
I was around between six and seven. I
Oh,
was
okay.
6 to 7 years old.
Okay.
So the interest, just kept growing little by little. So when I was about like 7 to 8 years old, there was some kind of celebration, and we were going in, and I heard the familiar music, and I was like, oh wow, they're playing a good song. I want to go to the band right away, because that's what I wanted to do. And I'm looking around, and I keep hearing the music, and then I looked at some part of the room, and there was a guy there, big giant speakers, the usual, the turntables, the big mixer. And I was like, what is this? Where's the band? I couldn't get it. And anyway, so I went up there just to see what it was all about. The guy was doing his thing, and I just remember vividly he was playing. This might have been in 84, 83, 84, whatever. Whenever the You Blinded Me with Science was out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and he played that song, and everybody lost their minds. I guess it was like a big hit at the time and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And
Thomas Dolby. Thomas Dolby.
yeah, yeah. So that's I've always liked that song, but I've never seen people just like lose it like they did. And then I was like, wow, I just went home thinking, man, I'd like to learn how to do all that stuff. And then time passed, I was being a kid, whatever. And then the breakdancing started, at least it reached us, the kids. Yeah, that's yeah. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
so so looking back, I got to thank my cousin Rodrigo and Gerardo, because they were older than me, and they would hang out with the teenagers, doing the breaking and the DJ and all that stuff, and we would go hang out and break dance and do the whole thing. And my friend Jennifer, she's like one of my all-time, like long-time friends. We would go break dance in front of her house. They'd come in front of my house. So anyways, Rodrigo was really good friends with a lot of people from back in the day. He went to school with
What neighborhood was this that you're talking about now?
well, oh gosh, okay. I went to Sacred Heart, so I guess I would be considered back of the yards.
Okay.
And I'm probably jumping all over the places because I'm excited about this, but they used to throw the dances at Sacred Heart, and that was my grammar school. So lo and behold, Rodrigo and Gerardo knew some of the DJs. So it was guys like Charlie Chaz D, Nandi Viramontes, who is Nandi Max now. Wilson Vicious Vega, a whole bunch of guys. They were just like, to me, they were like the ultimate, because I was like, oh man, what are they? And we were actually at a battle of the DJs, and I was picking some other guy. I don't know who was playing, and he did the It's Time routine. But my mom, because she took me to the dance, of course, she picked Nandi. I was like, Nandi's not going to win. This guy did It's Time. It was the coolest routine I've ever seen. And Nandi ended up winning that battle of the DJs. And actually, besides the first guy I saw, when I remember some of the music that Nandi played, but Nandi was probably one of the first people that actually inspired me to like start begging for records and equipment and so on and so forth. But that didn't happen for a while afterwards.
Okay.
But I just remember going to the school dances and just being amazed at what these guys were doing. Yeah, they were playing 15, 20-minute sets. There was a lot of guys on the flyer, but every single one of those guys killed it with the routines. It was amazing. So I thought that that's what you had to do as a DJ, like the quick mixing. I didn't realize that the quick mixing was more because you're trying to get in as much music on your set as you can. But I always thought that was
in competition, you mean?
yeah, exactly. But that's the style that I grew up with, and I love it. I love that style, that quick mixing. There's just something about it, and that's part of my DNA, per se.
Right. Marco posted that already.
Did he tell you? Ah, Marco.
No. He posted it on Facebook.
Okay. So I knew I was gonna say it. It was coming out. Anyways, so going back to that, it was just an amazing time. So then, my cousin's friend Victor had these realistic turntables, and those were the ones with no pitch. So we would go by his house, and he knew how to maneuver them. And so we were learning from him, just watching like how to blend and the combined songs that go with each other. And I don't know. At one point, my mom and my dad got me those techniques, the 100s. I call them the 100s. Every saying they were the 1000. I remember vividly, it said 100, and they had the pitch in the front, the rotary. They were belt driven.
Right.
I could have sworn they were 100s, but that's what we had.
This is when you officially started. Is this when you officially started DJing at this age right there?
Yeah, I would say I was maybe about 11, 12, trying to perfect the craft.
Okay, Marcy was asking that, so that's why I want to make sure that Marcy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was around that time,
Okay.
and obviously I didn't have any equipment, so but I had a turntable like everybody else. I feel like I'm just repeating what everybody else has. We had those consoles with the turntable, the 8-track, and the TV and all that stuff. So the few records that I did have that I can get, I would listen to them over and over again, and then just imagine in my head the next song coming in. And I was just basically, I learned to memorize the songs and figure out the breaks and all that other other mumbo jumbo. And then finally when the turntables came, you couldn't get me off of them. I'd come home, I would blast the music. My dad would get into arguments with the neighbors, the loud music, turn it down, what is he doing? And it was probably because I was terrible at it. But yeah, yeah. So that was the youth part of it. And a friend of ours, of Jennifer's and mine, had a party. I had maybe a half crate of records, and we carried the house speakers, the little turntables over to the basement party, and I swore up and down I was DJing, my first event. And one of the guys that was in there was like, "Bro, you suck." I'm like, well, I'm trying to, I'm still learning, man, and somebody else kind of like, say, leave the kid alone, man. He at least he's trying, whatever, blah blah blah. And yeah, that was the teenage, I mean the grammar school portion of it. God, everything's just kind of flooding in right now. So anyways, so we were, we met all these people just because of somebody knew so and so. So Victor Mendoza was like the one that was our mentor, because he was like our really good, guy, and showing us what to do. And then somewhere in the mix there, my friend Miguel Martin, Transit, him and John Swift, Miguel got turntables. So we started going by Miguel's house, and he had the 1200s. So you go from the Radio Shack to the 100s to the 1200s, and it was like, woo, uh, it was amazing, you know. So, anyways, we would go to his house, and Adam was hanging out there at the time. So I bring him up because he kept saying, you have to practice. You want to get the blend right, you have to practice. So you know, he was pretty pivotal in that aspect of the whole thing. And then my cousin wanted to start doing. There was a lot of DJ crews back in the day, so you know, my cousin, we had Regency DJ team, and it was Victor Mendoza, Frank B. Bad Molina, Rodrigo A, and myself. And we would do cotillions and weddings and whatnot. They were Frank and Victor were a little older than us, so they had the car, and we would go and help them out, and so that was a fun time. Then gosh, I'm just trying to go in the timeline. I feel like we're doing the Last Dance. I'm like going back.
Not the first time I've been told about the show like The Last Dance. It's not the first time.
So we were doing the Regency thing, and then my cousin, and we were sitting in the back of his car. Or no, yeah, we were in the car. We were talking. Let me ask you. I came up with a name.
Well, I was going to say, because this Regency thing, they have anything with the Regency ballroom that was.
I want to say it did. I actually want to say it did. The one on Cermak.
Okay.
Because we would go there often, and I guess it was because it was the hot place to have the events.
Yes. So that's what that's.
Yeah, exactly. So I believe, I want to say Victor and Frank thought it would be cool to have that name, like because it was the badass hall. Why not be the badass DJ team or something?
Okay.
I don't know, you know. So yeah, definitely that had to do a lot with it. I don't miss going there because it was hard bringing in all the equipment, if I remember right. But yeah, so Rodrigo was working at a clothing store, Gallup on 26th Street. So there was this clothing line called New Force. And I've never told this story before. I think the only people that know this is probably Carlos and Adolfo, my friends. Anyways, Rodrigo's like, hey, I have this really cool name for a DJ team. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? And he's like, New Force, but we're going to say New Force Entertainment. And I was like, oh, I like that. You know, and he came up with this, with the logo and all that stuff. Because there was co-ed entertainment. Everybody was entertainment. And I remember the Radical Justice, the co-ed entertainment. I liked their logo. And I thought like, oh man, maybe we could make something like that. We were kids, you know, we didn't know anything about anything. And so anyway, so we came up with the New Force Entertainment thing, and we were playing at a lot of the house parties we can get into at the time. And we were going to school dances and the house parties and just having adventures, you know, seeing the fights happen and the cops come, and scary times, much like now, you know. But yeah, the DJ thing kept all of us out of trouble. That's all we wanted every weekend or every day, but every weekend for sure. It was like, what do you do? I'm gonna go try to be here and there and
so what they're
everywhere.
saying, Armin's saying that you had daytime parties too as well.
Oh, yeah. I used to throw daytimes. Thanks, caveman. Yeah, my parents had this office on 53rd and D. It was our tax service. So I guess we're going forward to maybe the mid-teens to late teens. So my parents would go to Mexico after tax season for a week or two. So the first year, I think I threw one party, and I got scared, you know, and cleaned up, whatever, everything was fine. So I got older the following year. They decided to go for a week and a half. So I decided to have a date. It started as a daytime, and it ended up going for a week, almost nonstop.
Oh, wow.
People would come in and out of the place like they owned it. And I was lucky that nobody trashed the office, but we had everything in the basement, and the basement could have passed as a club. and my, we set it all up. I was all like into like, putting as many speakers around the room that I could, all the lights that we can gather, and it looked pretty cool. But yeah, that the daytime lasted a week. A week. It was something, man. And then shortly after that, I was asked to leave the house. Um, and somewhere in that time, Carlos Feliciano and the Feliciano family entered my life, which is like something that I'm totally grateful for. I ended up moving in with Carlos. They let me stay there because I wasn't going to live in the streets. Um, so when Carlos entered, I wish he was here with me right now because this guy has a memory, and he would be like, "Oh no, that was in 1990 something, blah 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 blah." So that's why I'm jumping all over the place. But anyhow, so Carlos and I, you couldn't separate us. People that knew us back in high school, we were always everywhere together. But when it came to the DJ thing, we played everywhere almost. Like in terms of the part that people were throwing, they were put at us on their flyer, and hey man, let's go. We gotta get a ride to go over there, and we did it. We did it. We were playing. At that time, it was like the end of house music. New wave started becoming the thing, and we gravitated to new wave. And him and I talk about it a lot. That we felt that we weren't housey enough for house music, and new wave was kind of like was there with all the freaks, all the the people that were pushed to the side, and they made their own scene, and it was a good time, and not for nothing, but I always thought like the new wave girls, they were really cute. I like their look with the bobbed hair and all that stuff, and dressed in black. It was something because
So you did it for the women, right? That's why. That's the bottom line. You did it for the women.
well, yeah, yes and no, because to this day I have an addiction to DJing, and nobody believes me, but I swear to God, it's always been about the mix. I love doing it. Yeah, of course, I'm human, um, but but yeah, man, I just remember feeling safer too because and this is gonna sound crazy, but or it may not. But back in the day, you would associate certain people with certain music. So I always felt that
Right.
that
Right.
like house and freestyle were associated with a certain kind of people that I didn't want to be around, just because of trouble or whatever. But it wasn't necessarily them. It was like
Right.
a small group. But when you're a kid, everything is so amplified that it's bigger than it is. And looking back, it wasn't that bad. But anyways, but yeah, that was the new wave era there, and we started making a name for ourselves, if that's how it goes. And people started putting us on flyers, and we were out and about almost every weekend, which was very surprising. Like just going in there doing a short set, but people loved it.
Right.
I
Right.
got to meet a lot of people that I'm still friends with today. Caveman Armand is one of them, of course. DJ Reich, Yayo, the Volume guys, um, Marco Hernandez, of course. The first time I met him was at some event up on the north side, and I remember like, oh man, I hope we have the right music, because some people like industrial, some people like we used to call it the Lala music, like Erasure, Depeche Mode, like the happy-go-lucky new wave stuff. So it was almost like the industrial was the underground, and then the new wave was the pop, music.
Right. So do
Um,
you remember the event that you met Marco at?
it was at it was either a house or a bar. Marco would remember, but this I'll tell you this much. This was such a long time ago. Marco had his long hair. He had really long hair. I remember him. We were kind of sizing each other up, but I, not knowing Marco like I know him now, I took it the wrong way. I think maybe it was a youth thing, but it was like the ego probably was more prevalent back in the day. And I was like, damn, man, this guy's like, I don't think he likes us, you know. And anyway, anyways, but yeah, we all fun. I remember he had good records, man. He had Razor Maids. Those were like the rage back in the day. You know, you
Yep,
needed to get
yep.
the Razor Maid copy of whatever song, and those things were so expensive. You know, especially as a kid. But anyways, yeah, I
But
remember
if you had the Razor Maid, you were like the pro DJs because only certain amount of DJs get Razor Maids per se. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And those are the guys that were getting booked because they were looked as professionals. You know, they
Right.
had that stigma, you know, like, oh, you know, you knew how to get the Razor Maid, you know, and um,
Or you had a record that was blue or red or green, you know, it was
yeah,
like because they all would come with a different color. It wasn't just a
yeah,
black vinyl. They would
yeah,
come like clear, you know, black, red, green, you know, it was so I remember that those are the Razor Mates that we all used to like, ooh, okay, this is the intros and outros. Ooh, you know,
yeah, 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 exactly. And then the biggest, literally the what do you call that? The biggest prize in Razor Mates was getting the copy of that Gold Hassan. I remember everybody and their mother made such a big deal out of about that copy of that because there's the red, the white ones, and then that one. Everybody wanted the gold one. I just remember I never got that one. But yeah, uh, yeah. So anyhow, so somewhere around that time, our friend Notorious Nino, he he was like everywhere himself. Like you know, he knew a lot of people. He knew Pablo, um, uh, Frankie V, and that's how we met Julio Sierra. Um, and he's another one that's just like such an awesome guy. He him and that whole crew. I mean, we basically I feel like we were pointed into the right group of people, like Rick Guerrero. Um, Man, if I forget anybody, I apologize. But it's just so many people. But every single group of DJs that we met, um, we were always in good hands. Like when we
right.
were out and about, you know, we were, we were guys like normal guys. You know, if things happen, things happen. But for the most part, we were surrounded by really, really, really good people, man. And I'm glad. Um, um, if I can go back really quick, and I could probably save it for later, but Gabriel Rican Rodriguez, he's the guy that he was getting booked ridiculously to do weddings and cotillions, so we would go help him out. He let us use his, and at the end of the wedding, hey, just take the turntables and I'll pick a bump on Monday. So we were like ecstatic because we would have, first of all, we would have his turntables at our house. So we thought it was a big deal because he's such a good DJ. We're like, oh, we're gonna learn the technique from osmosis just by touching because he mixed on them or whatever. And
That's
but
funny.
but but that guy, he taught us, like at least he taught me about the whole mobile DJ thing.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go DJ at the dance parties, you know, but I didn't realize that the mobile gigs were like that's where the money's at, you know. So anyways,
Right.
flash forward, doing those events with him back in the day has helped me out currently with my DJ business that I do now. So I have to give a big shout out
Now,
to him. I tell him when I see him all the time. So
so is that about the time when we met? When
uh,
you had those connections? Was that about the exact same time?
somewhere just slightly past that, that's when the parties on Milwaukee Avenue were all the rage. The Royale, the Orbit, Tanya's, Yayo, and his crew. They booked us to play there, and they were running that for a while when we got older. Um, and luckily they let us work with them, you know. Um, so we were doing all those events around there, and then somewhere in that time, the Tropicana, we were going there for the Tuesday night boxing.
Yeah.
And I remember that, like, I didn't see anything like that, compared to, and it's two different events, but in terms of the people wanting to and having to be there every Tuesday, I didn't see nothing like that, like, since what's that place, um Prime and Tender, like, everybody wanted to be there for quarter night on Thursdays. And when you guys were doing the boxing, man, I thought it was like the best thing. It was something different. And I met you somewhere involved with that, in around that time, because
So I had thought I met you at one of the open DJ nights. You know, when I had the open DJ, because I was doing simultaneously. I was doing in Tropicana, we had the Tuesday night boxing, but I had Palladium upstairs as well. And I was doing Palladium, and I thought you had DJ for one of the open DJ nights that we had, because
you
we
know,
would invite.
I remember going, yeah, I remember playing, but it was downstairs for
Okay,
something else. It was for something else. But some of the, I think the Academy was throwing parties up there. Up in the, uh, and I and gosh, kind of side tangent there. I started, after that event. I MC for people, and the guy from sent me on flyers, as in, like, I was MCing so much that he can DJ too, and that kind of ruined me for a while, because, like, hey, he can DJ too. No, it's the opposite. Like, the MCing is something different. But I want to say it was around that time.
yeah,
I
because Marco was helping us out a lot over
Yeah.
at Tuesday Night Boxing. Marco used to help us out a lot. In fact, I have a funny story about Marco. Marco was always there working with us.
Mhm.
And I remember Ruben Pasmino, who was the owner of the club. I used to go to South Beach, and we had a condo in South Beach, and I would go there for vacation and stuff like that. And this particular Tuesday, I arrived in on Tuesday, but I don't
Mhm.
know why I did. I had this thing that I said, oh, I'm going to be back on Wednesday. I don't know why I said that. So Marco gets a phone call on Tuesday from, I guess, in the afternoon. They understood that I was not going to be there for that one Tuesday night. And Marco confirmed this. At one Tuesday night, I've never missed a Tuesday for Tuesday night boxing.
Yeah.
So they needed someone to fill my spot. Marco had all the alternative. Dynamico had this type of music. Alex Perez had this type of music. They called up 8 DJs.
Oh my goodness.
Eight
Oh my goodness.
DJs because of the different styles of music that they have.
Sure.
So I walked in exactly at 8 o'clock because the doors open, I think, at 9 o'clock. And I see everybody lined up. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then, right away, Marco comes up to me and goes, hey, man, I heard that you weren't going to come in today. Well,
I could hear his voice.
And he's like, dude, like, dude. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I go, what, who said that? So the secretary, her name was Rocky, basically told them that she heard on the voicemail that I was not coming in. And I think I said, I just put that there for people wouldn't bother me until Wednesday if they wanted to talk to me, because I was calling up to get in for free on Tuesday Night Boxing. But I was like,
Yeah.
so I walked in and I go, wait a minute. How much are they paying you guys? To the 8 guys. And I go, oh, okay. So I went up to Ruben, got Ruben, told him, come here. Go, you mean to tell me it took 8 guys to fill my spot?
Oh boy.
I says, when we're done, we're going to talk about my raise.
Yeah. Did you
And
get
that
the
was
raise?
it. So absolutely. And Marco, thank you very much. You proved
Yeah.
you did a good
Shout out
job
to
for me. So that was, but that's what I mean. Marco was there always helping out. And I could have swore that was one of the things, because Marco, we would come up to Marco, and believe it or not, Marco was very helpful in a lot of things, because if we couldn't get an answer, hey, ask Marco, he should know. And that was kind
Yeah.
of the guy Marco was. He would hook up people. He would know, hey, I got a guy that knows a guy, type of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
No,
where
and
Marco
you know
was.
what? You know what? He's still the same way.
Oh, to this day,
He,
absolutely.
yeah. That guy gets a lot of love from a lot of people. Very well deserving of it too. Just because he's not, for as many connections that the guy has, the guy's right here. Other people would be like, "Don't talk to me. I'm Marco Hernandez." And he's not like that.
Right.
He's like such a gem of a person, So yeah.
Dynamico says great memory. But that was a pivotal
Yeah,
moment for
that
me
too, man.
because I got a raise because of that. It was like, okay.
Yeah. Hey, he's gonna want his 10%.
you know. So
Oh my goodness.
you're involved is because I remember there were a lot of groups at the time that were doing
Mhm.
this house alternative.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of people doing the salsa per se. I would do a little bit of it because I was already getting into that. This is pre mixtape and stuff like that. But I was doing
Sure.
that. I was doing that more because, and at the same time that we had Andromedas and Infinity and stuff like that. So I
Hmm.
remember, and even that was that had its little. There was Leon and Beto doing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
Andromedas and stuff like that. So where did you go from this point? From the
Well,
dichotomy?
I was doing those events. I was guest spotting at different bars that these guys would promote at. And thank you guys for that. Never a resident with them. But I would go in there, either do an opening set or a mid set or whatever, which was awesome. It was, I got to play at all these really cool spots. And there was, when the whole Latin shift came, uh like the salsa, the Spanish rock, I feel in my viewpoint, like they all kind of came in, like all of a sudden everybody was Latino again. And and I mean it in a good way. Like everybody was embracing the music that they listened to at home. Because at the clubs there was whatever the DJs were playing. So when everybody started doing that, I kind of disappeared for a little bit because I was working. And I ended up meeting Joel at Eddie Rockets on Division. And I just kind of mustered up the courage to ask if I can throw one in or play there. And he's like, "Yeah, man, like nothing." I was like, "You trust me to whatever." And this is around the time when underground music was becoming a thing. So I'm gonna do a confession here. I, in the history of Eddie Rockets, cleared the dance floor at, at not a peak time, but at an essential time. And luckily, I did it just before the bikini contest, because it was Wednesday nights and they would have a bikini contest, because I was there every week. But again, if you could see the understanding, they had the bikini contest and there was so much to that, but it was about the DJing. I wanted to spin, and I thought Eddie Rockets was like, to me, it was like the hottest thing, since sliced bread. So anyway, so he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm thinking, well, this is Kashmir. This is hot right now, but it wasn't hot there. And you guys had talked about the clubs in that area. It had to be recognizable music,
Right.
or so. He's like, "Here, throw this one on," and then he was feeding me the music, and I did whatever. And then he gave me the best advice anybody could have ever given me. And he's like, "Check it out, man. I understand you want to play these songs, and it's fine. You can get them in here, but give them familiar music, and then throw them a bone every now and then. Introduce the music, and I guarantee you, in about 2 to 3 weeks, they're gonna ask for that song." And And I was like, okay, cool. So he gave me an opportunity to spin there. I was going there, and I would kind of, I would give him, his break, and he let me play for an hour, 2 hours, and it was like an experience. I was like, oh my god, I'm playing at a major, at least it was, and he's like, all right, man, I need you to go to Excalibur on a Sunday. Go have fun and check out the DJ. I don't know who DJ is to this day. Uh, they were playing a variety of music, and the guy kept the dance floor going, and he would mix it. He was playing 80s music, 90s, and it was such a good time. And I had such a good time that I unknowingly always liked that style of DJing, of giving a variety, playing a little bit of everything,
Right.
throwing gems to people to have fun with, and that helped me out a lot. So after that experience there, I got to play at Poets, like right next door. And then one time at Mother's, I only got to play two records there because the regular DJ ended up showing up. They sent me there because the guy wasn't going to show up. And I was like, oh, they were giving me an opportunity in that neighborhood to play, the music. And along those times, I was still playing at the other parties that people were throwing. And somewhere in there, you gave me an opportunity at Andromeda's, in that front room. You wanted me to do new wave, and I played new wave, but the prior to that, you took me to the back to check out the main room, and you were playing the Spanish reggae, which is reggaeton, right? But I remember you calling it Spanish reggae, and I was like, man, I liked it, like the General, that whole sound, and Murder She Wrote, and I could almost remember the set, and anyways, no, there's things that I remember, man, as far as DJs with some sets, man, like that's never gonna leave
but
my
if you
head.
remember, if you remember that it wasn't true reggaeton yet. It was reggae from
No.
Panama. It
Yeah,
was it wasn't true reggaeton like we know now and stuff like that.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
it, and
that's why I'm saying
it wasn't the noise or anything like that. It
no,
wasn't,
no.
it was
It was good stuff, man.
yeah, it was borderline reggae, but in
Yeah,
Spanish. I mean, that was why we called it Spanish reggae. And I remember, I think
it
that's
was
when
without the tone.
and that's when I think I just came up with Mas Caliente, because on that Mas Caliente CD, I had
Yeah,
the Spanish reggae mix. Even though we called it reggaeton, it was a Spanish reggae. It was that it was Lorna and all that. It was just it wasn't the true reggaeton that we know now per se. It was just
yeah,
La Gato Varador.
yeah.
Exactly. So it
Yeah,
wasn't, but everybody, it was different. It was a totally
yeah.
different sound, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It was something that I'm telling you, man. It was like a renaissance. I'm lucky that I was able to. I grew up when breakdancing was happening. Then house music kind of killed it for me. I didn't like house music when it first came out because we were all about the high energy and the breaking and all the dance crews. I mean, it was God, I missed that guy so much, man. And bringing that up, he gave us an opportunity at Choice Place when he had that little bar up on the north side. We were minors. It was Carlos Feliciano, Robert Trujillo, and myself, and we were locked up in the DJ booth playing music for him. And he introduced us to the whole gay scene.
Oh, you're talking about Al? Al?
No, Troy,
Okay. Okay.
Black Troy.
Okay.
And so I don't know how I could forget that, because that was technically the first quote unquote residency that we had playing for him. I think that lasted 3 weeks because we were minors.
Was that the place on California and Milwaukee?
I want to say, yeah, it was a little
second
corner
floor?
bar. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think he had his apartment there or something, and
It was
he
on the second floor. Yes, I remember
yeah
that.
yeah yeah, yeah. So he's a shot there, and that I mean, it was fun, but we just couldn't do it because at that time we weren't 21 yet. You know, we weren't as lucky as you guys, being 15, 17. You know, because by when it was our turn to do that, the cops had caught on. Go to the DJ booth and make sure the DJs are 21, and we weren't. So Troy got into a lot of trouble. You know. So anyways, but yeah, back to like, with you, it was at Andromeda's. um that's when you gave me the shot to go play there, and so thank you for that, by the way. It was an experience because it was like, oh man, this is at the time when you guys were in competition um with Convent. And I remember, if I had to choose between the two, I liked what you guys were doing only because I really wasn't digging the Spanish rock at the time. I like the tropical sound, and it was like the Spanish rock just kind of came at me, like too hard. Like, what is this? Like I was more familiar with the salsa music and merengue than anything.
Well,
Um, uh,
that just to clarify how, when you say competition, I remember it was Ruben Pazmino, the owner, same owner.
mhm,
He was very envious of the crowds that were going to Convent, and I would always tell him, I said, listen, there is no competition, man. We have the tropical market. We got the salsa bands and the merengue bands. And it was more merengue bands of anything. And I go,
mhm,
that's a different animal that people are coming in. I go, and I says, for me, I was like, dude, believe it or not, as long as we do what we do, there are going to be people walking over there across the street because it was only a half a block away. And they would walk over to us, and they were always
yeah,
curious as to, okay, how,
yeah,
and I remember we had, I would think you were playing in the front, but we
mhm,
had five merengue bands that one night. I think it was five merengue bands in the main room, and then we
mhm,
were playing alternative, and I think we were playing something else upstairs in the second floor. And I remember we had a line down the street all the way to the Vidoc.
yeah,
So I mean, it
yeah,
was it was like 1,800 people, I think. And I know out of that line, when people drove past Elston Avenue, they were like going to Convent, and I know what they did. They would like, well, we got to go over here because there's a line
yeah,
down the street. That
yeah,
was, and I just remember that was, and I've never, I think that's where I learned in this industry, never look at things as competition,
sure, sure,
because this is what we're, and both the DJ wise as well as promoter wise, because everybody has their own styles and stuff like that. And I think that's why I always invited all you guys to play with
mhm,
me, to play on the turntables in the different rooms, because I never looked at anybody's competition. You're just
sure,
adding to the mix. That's it.
sure,
Literally
sure.
adding to the mix.
You
So
you you embody what salsa is by what you just said, and I don't know if you even realize that, because and I don't know a lot about salsa. I just know what I saw in the movie when trying to come up with the name, and it's a little bit of call it salsa, but body by do and inviting the different people, you different elements. You have your house DJ, the new wave, the whatever DJ, and you made a thing of it, and that worked well for you guys. So that's, I give you props on that. So you embody salsa, man, like straight up. Like, talk about somebody, you mix it, whatever, but you embody it. So that's, who can say that? That's cool, man. You know?
well, thank you, thank you. Well, I mean, I think that's again, goes back to the music. What I said, music is the key. That's it.
Yeah.
We go back to the whole thing. Now you're in your 25-ish. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Right where you're at?
Somewhere
That,
around there. Yeah.
okay, so
And
you're doing you're
to
doing.
yeah, yeah, to this day, just so you know, I'm in my 30s. Okay. So that's what I tell people. But no, but yeah, at the time, yeah, I was in my mid 20s. And gosh, God, what was else going on? Viva Promotions was doing their thing too at the time, and
Right.
so I got to play for Lewis. Leon had booked us for stuff too. Um, meaning like us. I keep saying us. It's I keep Carlos and myself. We were always and then he was doing his own thing too, getting booked with Leon, at I think at Vinyl, and I forgot where else. But um, so yeah, I mean, it was a good time. Shortly after that whole like the whole convent time, by that point, I think I had moved to Bridgeport, and I started working at the Hilton. And one of my friends was a bartender, Karen. She was a bartender at Tito's on the Edge on 26th and Princeton, and it was called Ethel's Bar after a while. Um, so they needed somebody to go play. I think Nicky the Count was like one of the known guys in the area, and he was one of their DJs. So I went and did a party for them, and then they asked me if I wanted to be there every week. So I was like, okay, So that was like the first time I ever played anywhere by myself, where I had to come up with the music for the whole night, which was like another great experience that helps me to this day, because I can handle a wedding no problem by myself, and I
Right.
guess that all comes with experience, So I learned
Right.
that there for a good maybe 4 or 5 years, and then this kid was throwing parties there, and luckily he kept me there. He could have brought somebody else in, but I was going with the flow. With the music, I was playing Euro was like the big thing, techno and all that stuff, at the time. So I was playing there for a while, and then he took me over to Bojica's, and DJ Val was playing there. I met her there, and they had a party. They had a band. They had a big curtain in front of the DJ booth, so I could the dance floor to see how I was doing. But I knew the crowd that was there, so I was playing a little bit of new wave and the techno, whatever. And not to toot my own horn, but they gave me props for this. I was going by the crowd reaction. So if I heard that they liked the song that I played, the next song I grabbed the next one that would keep the momentum going. So I was
Right.
playing this game of the more they screamed, the more I knew what song to play next. So the owners there liked me, and they asked me to come over there. So I was playing there for a good 5 6 years, with Laurie
Wow.
and Vince Martinez. I ended up, I mean, I was probably there longer, but I was playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Uh,
Wow. Wow. That's full
Talk about
schedule.
a burnout. Yeah, yeah, but it goes back to the addiction for the DJing thing.
Right.
But then at that point, I started learning that you need other people to come in and do things. It just can't be all about you. And we
Agree.
got other people to come and spin and all that stuff. So I mean, I think everything, everybody learns with experience. As you get older, you don't realize it, but you learn. So anyway, so after the Bojicas, and gosh, I started I started dating my now wife at that time, and then I wanted to kind of revisit the whole mobile thing, because people were asking me to do their weddings and cotillions,
Right.
but I didn't have equipment, so I would ask like guys like Peter C, from the PB&J Mix Show, um, hey man, they want to book for a wedding. Can you help me out? Go halves on the or whatever. And sure, let's do. And then not until like me and my wife started really really dating that the light bulb go off, and about starting a DJ company, to start doing it full time, or at least at the time every weekend. Um, and so during that time, um, God, we got married, and then we had a little girl, and then it was a thing. Well, one of us has to stay home with the kids, and she liked doing what she did, and I was like, okay, well, I'll take care of the kids. I raised we both raised our girls, but I raised at home. And then the ego started kicking at me like, dude, what's going on here? You need to do something. So then I started researching how to DJ, or how to start a DJ company, and I found this guy, the Twitter. He's from overseas. I found him first, and then I found Brian Red, and I'm really good friends with Brian. I call him hermano. He's my guy from Wisconsin. But anyways, he was giving he was recording videos on how to DJ weddings and stuff, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, oh man, this is how I should set up my equipment, blah blah blah. So that's when I started my little DJ company, which I still accept right now. Right now, I'm not. Everything got moved over to next year, but yeah, I'm doing the mobile DJ thing now.
And that's what you're currently doing now, right? You're doing a lot more of the mobile stuff. When before this whole pandemic
Yeah,
thing was
yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I was getting calls. I've been writing a nice wave of referrals. So people that were at one event want me at theirs, and it's like a really nice snowball effect. And but right now, unfortunately, everything got moved over to next year. The majority of everything that I had booked for
Right.
this year.
That's just
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess it's one day at a time, you know. Um,
right. And then
but yeah, that's
and then everything else that's going on as well all over the world, it's just it's one thing or another with this the COVID, and now with this whole thing going on with the rioting and the protesting and stuff like that. So obviously it's
yeah,
not a good combination in the sense of what's happening. You know, I I I would have asked you, what do you think about the COVID thing? But that's not even an issue anymore. It's kind of like it's a double whammy going on right now. It's COVID and
yeah,
now everything else and stuff like that. So we don't know now. We don't even know what's going to happen. With this, just the industry as a whole per se.
yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, and I think that goes back to um, but and I'm glad that everybody hears your history, and that's what that I know that's where we want to know where you start at.
Sure.
But live streaming, you're doing a lot of live streaming, right? Is that what are you doing that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Gosh, man, we're talking a good uh 10. I want to say it's 10 years. I was with Rich Martinez. We were doing a show called The Rewind about 10 years ago, and actually I should go back. Um, Back in the day, there was just it was before the video thing started. There was lower level radio. Tommy Too Tough, that was his little radio station that he had. It was an underground radio internet show, and Adam Brock and Frank Molina, they had a show on his show on his station, and Adam said, "Hey, you wanna do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, that would be cool." Like something different. Because like my ultimate dream growing up, other than the DJ thing, was I wanted to be a radio DJ. But
Okay.
I like the Dick Bionde and the countdown. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Growing up, and I wanted to be like those guys. But then I got to do a guest spot at CRX, and when I saw and CYC, and I saw how hard these guys had to work, and they had to go to school for that. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. I'm just a DJ. I want a DJ mix. So when Adam brought that opportunity, we I went with it. And then when the video aspect came out, I saw an opportunity there. I was like, oh man, we can do this with video and DJing. Let's do it. So we started our own little show. It was The Rewind, and then we were doing that for a while. We were using Ustream and then live stream, every stream that came out. We would jump on there, and it was awesome. And this is around the MySpace time.
Right.
So
Right.
so it was easy to promote, and easy for people just to be okay with leaving the site. So then about 4 or 5 years ago, like 4.5 years ago, Facebook introduced the live stream on Facebook, and I was like, oh man, let me try this. Right away I had to jump on it, and I always did it with the intention of keeping me in front of people, and with the hopes that they would like what they see and they would want to book me for an event. Luckily, it's worked. I've flown to Houston to do a wedding. That was an awesome experience. And then just the other events that I've gotten to do. And currently, I stream almost every day, just because that's something that I've been doing personally. The other guys, they save it for Friday, Saturday, whatever, and it's like the radio dial. I have my own little dial, and the people that come back, I appreciate it. But yeah, that's I love doing it. And I think like going back to like we going full circle here, like you said, it's making a difference. And right now people need it, and I'm embracing that. And I'm gonna keep doing it even when all this is over and everybody goes back to work. Not to toot my own horn, but I was here prior to COVID. I'm gonna be here afterwards because that's how I promote myself. So
Well, I agree. I mean, and there, people ask me the same about the show and stuff like that. I think the show is essential for guys like you and everybody else that has the history here when it comes
yeah,
to the music and everything else that's going on, because this industry that we're in now wasn't created because just one part of it.
yeah,
There were different factors that made part of it. I mean, we talk about the break dancers, the dancers,
sure,
the DJs and stuff like that, and as well as when in the salsa market, the musicians and stuff like that. I think those are all the factors that make this industry what it is today. And we can go on and on about that's why like I was happy with George Ortega because he's an events coordinator and stuff like that. So he was very instrumental in making things happen with the festivals
sure.
and stuff like that. So I think that's all we really need to do is to get back to the music per se for the sake of everybody's sanity.
Yeah, yeah. It helped everybody since the beginning. I mean, if we
Because
if we
I
can
honestly
have,
I think this is
did I freeze? Or oh, there you
yeah.
go.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say that like I some of my favorite interviews that you've done is when you guys talk about the beginning times per se. The like there's you guys are first generation. Like you DJ Malo, shout out to DJ Malo. Love that guy too. But the you guys are first generation, and I was talking to Carlos about it that I was just because of my interest in I came my interest came into the first generation, but my actual activity was the second generation DJ. I was like in the middle, and then you have the third generation guys that came after us. We were right in the middle, but I love the fact that like your generation was you guys were living a time that I only got a little piece of it as a kid. The dancing, the break dancing, going, not just the shows and able to go live that life. The dancers like the Culitos, when they came to Sacred Heart, the Radar performed Puerto Rican Lover, Ralphie Rosario's. He lip synced it, but I didn't know who that was. I thought that was Ralphie. I'm a kid, mind you. We're like seeing this for the first time, and I was like, oh man, this is cool. But it was Radar, and it was its crew, and I was just mesmerized. Our friends, the high energy dancers, and I think they had Fire, Music Conspiracy. No, that was the DJ team. The Conspiracy dancers, I think that was one. But those were like, I think I wish I was a little bit older, like because when we were doing it, it was dying out by the time it reached us, and you guys
Right.
like were living it, man. You guys were right there.
Well, so let me not take away from the fact that you called me the first generation. Technically, I was the second generation. First generation were guys like Mike Machiarello, Freddie Fro, these guys that were playing true disco. There was Frankie Knuckles and stuff like these guys were the disco. And
Okay.
going back to what's happening right now, at that time here in Chicago was very volatile in this situation because there was the riots going on back then in the 70s. And
Okay.
talking to anybody that's seen it now, the riots were going on in the 70s. That was I believe 1970s. When was the riots at here in Chicago? 68. Okay, so 1968 and stuff like that, and the riots that were happening here. And I remember it, and I talked to a lot of people where they said their moms and dads, and I remember that was where it kind of the music played a big part of it, because disco came out. That was the funk and stuff like that, and that was
Sure.
it music healed the neighborhoods, from the Puerto Ricans that were dealing with the same thing that's happening with the Black community right now and stuff like that. That's the same thing was happening. Then they started the riots and all that stuff. So
Wow.
these were all things that were happening, kind of repeating itself like it is today. And I think that, here comes, the salsa groups, and here they come and they have sort of this camaraderie with the community and stuff like that. And that's, and people love that. And, they're playing in the parks, they're playing at,
Sure.
and they created events and stuff like that. I think that's what this is kind of the same thing. What's going on in the streets right now, this is what needs to happen for everybody.
Yeah.
Between all the, I don't care if you're a hip hop DJ, alternative DJ, bachata DJ, reggaeton DJ. This is all, we need to bring these people back together. And, and I really think music is going to be the answer to it, and that's,
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right, man. I think everything repeats itself, and somehow we need to recreate an outlet for people to release their by dancing. Like I would be ecstatic if like dance groups came back. Whether it's breaking or high energy or whatever with today's music, probably. But I would be so pumped if that were to happen again.
And
A lineup
I
of
think it,
yeah.
Victor, and I think that's what's going to happen. Honestly, I think that's what's going to happen, because the kids are going to look for another way, because the answer can't be always the looting and the robbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not the answer. And trust me, and it's not the safe answer per se.
Yeah.
Growing up on 26th Street, we all know there was the gang activity that was going on and stuff like that. So we all did this exactly, for the music. We gravitated to DJing to not be part of that scene and stuff like that. A lot of us were like, you know what? Yeah, the gangbangers are there, but I'm gonna DJ. So I want to still hang out with the boys and hang out with everybody, but I'm gonna do something cool that the girls could look at me. That's what we did and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what's gonna have to happen. And I really honestly believe that, what we talked about with the picnic and stuff like that, I'm hoping that everything opens up back to normal, the phase 3, whatever has to happen. And
Sure.
so, basically that's, so I just want to let you know. Any last words before we gotta go?
Well, just thank my parents for being my biggest supporters from day one, because they knew that would keep me away from the game bangers. I mean, I was friends, like repeating what everybody else said. So I won't go into all those details, but kept me out of trouble. My little brother, Carlos Feliciano, he is like my brother. Like my mom always said that if they had another kid, that was him. So she considered him her other son. So I love you, Carlos. Especially back in the day, like always, like just being cool. Like, man, go ahead, you do the set. Like he helped me get out there by him just being cool. And I don't know if you guys set up a date or something. That guy has a lot of memories. He's just like Marcos with the photographic memory. In terms of like what happened in the scene and some stuff that I don't even remember. I'm like, dude, really? We did that, or we played there, or whatever. And so he's somebody that I would definitely get. But man, like Victor Lua for the design. Oh, he designed this shirt right here, the final sessions, the logo here that we got going, and all my other friends. I'm not gonna mention anymore, just because I don't want nobody's feelings to get hurt. But you know who you are. I love you guys so much. I thank you for supporting everything that I do. I don't think I'm deserving of it. That's just the way my person. But I'm thankful that people still book me for whatever. Frank De La Mora, when he does his new wave, him and Javier Lebron, those are the I think the last surviving promoters that book me for like new wave events. You know, so I'm grateful for that. So
Right.
that's it, man.
Cool. All right. So once again, everybody, thank you, Victor. That was the Front Door Show. We want everybody to be safe out there. I gotta repeat it again. And listen to this Edgar, listen to Victor with his live streaming and stuff like that. So thank you very much. Guys, enjoy. Appreciate it.